I'm here today with Mike of The Devil Wears Prada to talk about Color Decay, out September 16th on Solid State Records. This man is on tour right now. How's the tour going?
Great, man. Most about 2/3 of the way through, I think. 3/4, about 2 more weeks, but it's been awesome shows for sure.
Has the crowd been lit when it comes to your set, and have you guys included any songs from the new album on that set list?
Yeah, so we actually, all the singles we've already released online are being played live right now. The reaction's been really awesome. Once we were able to start playing shows again after the pandemic, or towards the end of the pandemic, we were playing Sacrifice as we have been. It's just been blowing up. So the reaction's been amazing for the new tunes.
So after this tour is finished, and then you have a full-length album on your hands, is there plans for a follow-up tour with this album in mind in order to fully support the record?
I'm not sure when our next headliner will be. We do have another tour lined up. We've yet to announce, but we'll see how things unfold. It's always kind of hard to tell. I just kind of go where I'm told to go. So we'll see how things unravel.
Let's get into this record. In the band itself, what has been the most important growth in your perspective when it comes to this band from the first album all the way to what fans will get on this specific record?
I think within that scope, I think John's importance is the biggest thing that jumps out kind of off the bat. Just his role as producer, the amount of songwriting he does, even lyrics and everything, is just so monumental, just entirely pinnacle to what Color Decay is. And that's been an evolution that's been happening since Transit Blues and The Act to Z2 until now. So I think that's been the biggest thing. It's just, people often look at member lineup changes as a negative thing, but I think we've just got guys around us building this band as dudes that just love playing tunes so much and are so driven to be doing this. I think that's the huge part of that, and John and the other fellas.
Was this album differently put together from a creative point of view, or are you guys now kind of having a process together and it's just the process that kind of takes over and you guys are just kind of feeding into that machine?
I think the process was pretty similar to maybe The Act or Z2, besides that John more and more controls and manipulates the process and handles the process, even down to a lot of the engineering and whatnot. But we are a collaborative band. I work very well with John. I love being able to work with him, and I know Jeremy loves his role as well, as kind of looking over the creative components and managing that. So it's definitely different than a bunch of guys sitting in a warehouse room together starting songs, but instead be working, sending songs back and forth online and everything. But that's just sort of the very natural evolution that things have taken, as far as getting older and living in different cities and whatnot.
Becoming wiser.
I'd hope so.
When it comes to you as an artist, as an individual, what do you see on this record that the fans can perhaps get a glimpse of a better glimpse of who you are as a person and an artist?
I think I've always prided myself on being a lyricist and having that, but I would like to think that as the singer in the band, I have got more range and an evolved level of tonality to my voice, and being able to offer, hopefully, more than just a very strictly small range of vocals as far as screaming and yelling and spoken word. So I try and pride myself on that. I try and open that door as far as I can go, as far as becoming a better singer and being able to use my voice in a wider range of ways, I think.
Are those two worlds meshing in terms of the growth, the lyricist side of you and the vocalist side of you? Have they grown gradually with one another, pushing one another?
I think I've always been pretty confident as far as being a lyricist. I think the biggest change or growth in it is working alongside John. For the longest time, no one ever did any lyrics to the band besides me. In these days, I'll come up with songs from start to back, but at the same time, I'm oftentimes a facilitator as well to John's ideas in terms of if he's got a chorus and a verse and I need to come up with a bridge and a second verse or something, and kind of act as a facilitator in that role. So I think that's a part of my growth as far as lyrics. And as far as like a singer, I've always just loved kind of testing out what my voice can do live, kind of like as an experiment every night. I've never seen myself as being someone that like plays the record as is as a vocalist live. I like to mix it up and get the crowd involved in different ways, and also just experiment and try to stretch my range a little bit. So that's been something that's happened really since we started playing shows all the time, you know, day one kind of. And now I feel the confidence and the capability to sort of sew that into the recording as well.
When you look at the lyrical content, when you look at the sound that you guys created on this record, is this album an album about perhaps a little bit of a journey of self-discovery, a journey into realization? Is that how you see this record?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty honest assessment. By no means is the record conceptual. I've mentioned it a number of times, but it's always really hard to come up with a record name after the record rather than going into the record with the name, because then you have to find something that kind of encapsulates all the songs or kind of puts a roof over the songs, or like an umbrella. But yeah, I think the awareness of aging and the awareness of, you know, how life unravels at getting older, getting into our mid-30s and whatnot. I think there's a lot of awareness and assessment there that the songs are based off of.
I'll tell you, I'm in the mid-40s. It doesn't get any better.
That's what I hear. That's what I hear.
So you're going to have a lot of material for future records, because it's a slippery slope. Once you get into the 30s, it becomes a very slippery slope. One of the things I took from this record is that it has outstanding, I'm going to use the word outstanding, it has outstanding quality of individual songs if I take songs out of the context of the album. But it also has outstanding quality when it comes to the overall collective. How do you guys bring these two worlds together, the strength of the individual songs in order to create strength towards the collective?
I appreciate the kind words. First off, I've really since Dead Throne, I've tried to create songs as individual pieces rather than just a kind of mishmash blur of a record that is broken into songs. It's always been a point of intention for me, but I don't know. I think maybe it's just the evolution and hopefully the honing of our craft as songwriters and as, you know, members of the Devil Wears Prada, that we're writing songs that can stand out more as individuals, but also come together as, you know, a complete record, as being fans of records, you know, and being, you know, the legacy of rock bands releasing albums over singles or just singles. You know, obviously we unraveled the record as singles, but I don't know. I would like to think, I won't say it was like an accident or just a coincidence, but good records need to have their ups and downs, and they need to be made up. As hard as we've tried over the years for each song to be individual pieces, I think you can still look at different notion or different portions of the back half of Transit Blues or something and be like, yeah, this is kind of all blending together. And I think the ability to not do that, I think, just comes with, again, trying to hone in on the craft.
When I was going through this album, at first glance, at the first time that I went through it, the album felt to me that it was heavy at times. It wasn't heavy at times. It had a little bit of, like you said, had ebbs and flows. But then the more I listened to the record, and I must say, this record was like the drug that I didn't know I needed, but it turns out that I did need it. So the more I listened to it, the more hooked I became on the album. And the more I start to realize that this album is heavy throughout. It's just that you guys changed in terms of the definition of what you would consider heavy. Because sometimes I felt like the sound was heavy. Sometimes I felt like the lyrical content was heavy. Sometimes the vocal delivery was heavy. And sometimes everything was heavy together. Are you guys looking at redefining what perhaps fans expect a heavy album to be by giving us different shades of what heaviness could be?
I appreciate the kind words once again, man. I think individually, if you kind of looked at our own personal and unique tastes as far as individuals within the band, we're oftentimes going to look at the heaviest material not being of the metal genre. I think there are ways to find groove. There are ways to find melody in so many different ways outside of one genre. And I think that what I try to do, or what the band tries to do, is bring everything into the pot rather than trying to jump out of our own pot and become something entirely different. It's trying to bring all of these different characteristics and these unique virtues into metalcore. So, you know, it's fun. It's fun doing Z2 and going, okay, this is just like a no-brainer, fist to the face kind of metal collection of songs. But I also, I don't know, I always love range, and I always love being able to, you know, I like doing big shows, I like doing small shows, I like doing fast songs, I like doing slow songs, you know, louder songs, quieter songs. I think the contrast just feeds us so much. And I know personally speaking, it certainly feeds me.
When it comes to your vocals on the album, do you come into a record with an idea of perhaps things that you would like to experiment with that you haven't had a chance to do it before? How do you approach an album vocally?
You know, I felt like I kind of took risks, or like back around Dead Throne, when I was trying to open up my range and I started doing more of the like yelly material that we kind of refer to it as. These days I don't think it's ever so like intention was being like, okay, I'm going to experiment with this. I think it's just kind of doing what the song best serves. And, you know, as John records, or even on the past few records where he hasn't properly engineered the record, he's going to be there for every vocal take, and he's going to have an idea as to what I'm able to deliver, what serves the song best as far as delivery. So usually that's the sort of little things you kind of work around, is John and I just trying to do obviously the best vocal take like any singer is going to do. But I don't know, I just hear certain lines, certain lyrics just call for a different kind of enunciation. And for me, a lot of that feels really automatic. And, you know, I'm not a classic, I can't sing well by any stretch, but if I'm, you know, Jeremy obviously handles a lot of the choruses, or he's in the foreground of the chorus, but if I'm backing it up, I'm going to try to have some sort of match in tone or range as to what he's singing. So a lot of that, I think, is just evolved in terms of, again, just having the confidence in your voice and hopefully the creativity to do something a little different rather than just the same vocal delivery, like staccato, you know.
Is there a song on this record that stands out to you as perhaps being a little bit more difficult than others, either vocally, from a lyrical point of view, from how you guys would perform the song live, across any of these elements?
My initial reaction would be 25. A breakup song, one that I honestly never want to hear again, and I hope to God I never have to perform live, because as soon as I heard the instrumental, or as the song was coming together, it felt like it was right for that place to kind of get my word in, as far as, you know, this personal experience I went through, and I kind of wanted to unload it and forget it. And, you know, Trauma doesn't really work that way all so much, but I felt like it would serve the instrumental. I thought it would make for a cool song, but at the same time, from a lyrical and just like cathartic or human standpoint, I never wish to hear it or to have to sing it every night and think about the circumstances.
I guess it's safe to say that one won't be making the set list anytime soon.
I hope not, but, you know, I don't call all the shots either.
Democracy sucks sometimes. I have to ask you about two specific songs, and I want to start off with Cancer. The lyrics on that track threw me for a loop. Like, I was like, am I hearing what I'm hearing? What does that song represent? Like, what do those lyrics are trying to tell me? Are they telling me exactly what they're telling me?
They are. John wrote that chorus. He wrote the theme of the song, and it was one where I, you know, peppered in the verses and whatnot. But really, it's just a person of inspiration, or a hero of John's passed away, and as soon as he heard the news, he became instantly traumatized that it was like suicide or maybe drug overdose. And is like internally his reaction was like, I hope it's cancer. I hope it was, it's hard to call cancer natural, but a more natural means of death rather than maybe so self-impeded perhaps. So and then just kind of looking at is like, how could I think such a horrible thing, or like what traumatic experiences have happened to me to where that's where I would go when I heard of this person passing away. And it's certainly it's one that, you know, I do these interviews every few days or every day or whatever, and I'm asked about it frequently, and I think that's nice. I don't think it's like horror or shock value. I think it's an incredibly authentic and honest song. Certainly one of our favorites across the board.
Yeah, I think it creates a great duality, because you're hoping for a better news, even though the better news is still pretty awful. So it puts into question what kind of person you are, that awfulness of that news would still be better than the awfulness of another news. I mean, it's a super interesting song from that point of view.
Yeah, you just hit the nail on the head. I think you put it better than I could, but you totally get it.
Yeah, it blew me away. Like, and it comes at the end of the record too. So it's like, I'm not expecting that. So it kind of like hit me really hard. And the other song that hit me really hard, I think if there's one track that describes a lot of what I've gone through in the last couple of months, is Noise. And when I was listening to this song and you guys put in these lyrics, I can't sleep because the sky is falling. Rest in peace, the noise is calling. There's never been truer words for where I've been mentally over the last couple of months. So that song hit me like a ton of bricks. I have goosebumps just saying those words right now. Like, I mean, that song really had an impact on me, because I was feeling it, but I didn't have the words to describe the feeling, and you guys described that feeling perfectly in those words. What was the catalyst for that track and those specific lyrics?
Well, thank you. I love to always tease John. One of the most recent single we put out was Time, and I always love teasing him and saying Noise is a better song than Time. He likes Time better. I like Noise better. Thank you. I'll rub that in his face. Really, I just thought it was an interesting kind of thing about like wanting to find success, wanting to succeed, to grow, but also scared of all the vulnerability that comes with that. As someone that, you know, like as a performer, you know, I'm a public sort of figure on stage every night, but at the same time, what creates contrast with that is wanting to be by myself a lot of the times, or wanting to have some level of privacy for sure. So really that's what the song follows. I love that breakdown there, and that part I really love. I think that it was one of my better vocal performances, as far as how it just tries to really heighten out at that part in the desperation. So I appreciate the kind words once again. I think Noise is definitely one of the better tunes on the record for me personally.
Like the vocals feel so stretched out, like the emotion that the lyrics have are so well represented by the vocal tone that is just like, it's gut wrenching. Like, I mean, it's just incredible. That's why and not to say that Time is not a great song, because it is, but Noise kind of takes the cake as far as I'm concerned. I want to finish this conversation not with a question, but by telling you that when I was listening to the record, it really hit me hard that this album has a special meaning to me, and it was going to stay with me for a very long time. I don't think I'll ever forget this record and the impact that it's had listening to it. And when I was listening to this album, I was trying to explain to people how it felt to me. And the best way to describe it was that, you know, these were, I wrote this down. This album was written from pages of a diary that I never wrote, but I dreamt about writing one day. This is the best way that I can describe this record. So on that note, I want to say thank you for making it.
No, you're seriously so kind, and we can't say thank you enough for such kind words, and we're very grateful. Where, you know, it was momentum based out of the pandemic and the lockdown that we made Z2, and then it was just like, keep writing songs, keep whatever the next full length is going to come to be. And I can't wait for everyone to hear it, because people keep saying all these nice things to me about how much they love the album. So I really appreciate it. I think there's certainly a part of, or something that John tries to do with songwriting, is to reach other people's emotions outside of just himself or just our own. present circumstances, but try to open that pool or open, the net wider to encapsulate more than just our own very specific circumstances. So I really appreciate that. I'll tell John you said so, because I think it's going to mean a lot to him. But again, thanks for having me, and thank you for all the amazing words. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for taking the time, and best of luck with the rest of the tour. And hopefully we'll see you guys soon on another tour.
We'll be back. We're always grinding.
Take care, man. All the best.
You too. See you.